Oh, hello there. I guess you can call this chapter one of the book that I'm never going to write because let's face it, if I was going to write the book, I would have written it by now. Um, okay. So, you know on Facebook how it has that little thing that you can enable where it'll tell you like what you were doing a year ago today or 2 years ago today or whatever? Well, today, Facebook reminded me that 3 years ago today, I moved to Virginia, which in and of itself was a difficult decision to make, but and a difficult time in my life. But it really got me thinking about why I made that move because it was a very sudden move. Um, and basically, I made the move because of what we will call the psychotic test. Um, apparently, when you're abused as a kid, you kind of get this label, this placard on your face that says abuse me, mistreat me. I am a victim for you to use however, I like that, say that outside, and whatever means you think you need to use it. And that became a repetitive thing in my life where I would seek out people to mistreat me. I felt comfortable being mistreated. I didn't think that I deserved to be treated well. And so anyway, I was uh, 2011, which would have made me 29. Um, yes, today was my birthday, so I was 28. I was just out of prison, and when I left prison, I was in a relationship with a woman, and that woman told me after I left prison that, you know, she had been cheating on me for quite some time while I was away with a man, and she was engaged to this man, and she was living for this man, and I was devastated. And so I did what I always did. Um, I jumped online and I found someone to fill that void. And I would pretty much take anyone, just whoever will fill that void, whoever will make me feel as though I am worth something, just anything. And I found someone. Well, actually, I don't want to call her a psychotic ex, but that's not fair. That's not right. We'll call her Kay. So I meet Kay, and at first it's a wonderful feeling. There's this woman who I found to be quite attractive, who I told about my past, and she at first seemed very accepting of, and it didn't really last very long though. After being together for a very short amount of time, she invited me to move in with her. I was at the time staying in a halfway house, which an atheist pansexual living in an uber religious halfway house does not mix. That was not the place for me to go. Unfortunately, in my state, pretty much all of the halfway houses that exist for people coming out of incarceration are religiously oriented. They did force me into a religiously oriented placement, which I'm pretty sure is illegal, and I'm pretty sure I should like get the ACLU on that because you can't force me to go to a place that is willing to try to change my religion, which they did, try to change my sexuality, which they did. Well, they tried. I mean, they didn't succeed in changing my religious beliefs. I'm still an atheist. They did not succeed in changing my sexuality. I'm still pansexual, still me. But they tried really hard um, to convince me that I was not who I think I am. So anyway, I'm at this place, and she sees how unhappy I am, and she uses that as a way to get me to move in with her. It's very fast. So I'm moving in with her because who's not going to do that? Who's not going to make that choice? You know, oh, stay in this place where I'm miserable or with this woman who I really loves me. But soon after moving in with her, it became very clear that under no circumstances was I to have friends. The friends that I found, because I mean, again, I was fresh out of prison, um, didn't have a lot of contact with any old friends, even the good ones from the old days. I didn't, have contact with these people. Hadn't found them yet. Facebook helped a lot with that. But anyway, so she wanted me to have contact with them. She wanted me to have contact with the good influences that I had before incarceration. I wanted to cut ties with the bad ones, but I wanted to find the good ones because there were good people in my life. There was, the hippie who to this day is in my life because he's just such a source of joy and optimism and joy. Bad hippie, bad hippie, bad girl. Okay. Um, he's an awesome guy. And, my husband's met him and he's weird, but awesome. And there were others, there was the Irishman who was a pretty great guy. There was, anyway, I'm getting off topic again. So, she made it very clear that I was not supposed to have friends. She made it very clear that I was not supposed to have a lot of contact with my family. We would frequently go on trips out of state to see her family. However, even though my family was in the state, we did not go to see my family a lot. My dad, my brother. At the time, my brother was actually doing quite well. He was living in a nearby city. He was actually, I think he was living in the same city that I was living in. He was in a relationship with a woman who, according to everything that I know about this woman, did not use drugs, still does not use drugs, was an upstanding, individual. And she and my brother were raising his youngest child together. And he seemed to be doing well. Like he was working, he was taking care of his kid, he was having contact with his other kid. He was doing quite well. And he would contact me every so often and ask me if I wanted to go see him perform because he fancies himself a rapper. He's not a rapper. He's not very good at rapping. It's not his forte. But then again, what do I know about it? Like I don't listen to rap music. So maybe he's really a great rapper. I don't know. It's just, he's my brother and so I have to think that he's, sucks at rapping. I don't know. But I wanted to go. I wanted to go to support my brother. I wanted to go to, kind of pick fun and poke fun at my brother and work out that relationship that had been destroyed through my past actions and his drug addiction. But we never went. I made a friend. I had to ride the bus every day to and from work or my parole office or whatever. Wherever I had to go, I had to ride the bus. And I met someone, who I became friends with, and I was not allowed to associate with that person. Like, you can't be friends with him because you're gonna leave me for a man and blah blah blah. So first it was just like very restrictive. You have to, be at home at this time. I have to know where you are at all times. Don't associate with these people. Don't hang out with these other people. Don't have a lot of contact with your family. And it quickly became violent. Um, there were times when we were lying in bed together and I would tell her that I was not in the mood and she would, kind of force sex upon me. There were times, well, like one time in particular, she took all of my clothes out of the closet and threw them off and threw them away. She basically cashed most of the clothes that, because, well, because I had to, because it was her apartment and not mine. And when I stood up for myself, she choked me to the point of leaving bruises on my skin. So that's what led to me leaving and moving far away. I'll let you come back to that. What led to it? That's what led to my exes. So on it, I've been a program for all those things, but it wasn't that instance in particular. It was she and I got into an argument, and she and I got into an argument, and she became boss, and she ended up leaving the home for a few days, and I didn't know where she was, and she took the only vehicle, which legally was her vehicle. However, I was making all of the, like, I was paying for it. I was paying for its upkeep. I was paying for the gas that went in it, the automotive problems it would have. I had to pay for the mechanic. I had to pay for the insurance. I made considerably more money than she did at this point, which I think upset her because I was an ex-con. I was supposed to be lesser than her, and here I was, like, I had a job where I made almost $20 an hour, not quite, but almost, and that was just astounding to her. You're supposed to be lesser than me, like, how can you make more? But anyway, we got in this fight, and she leaves. She's gone for days, and I was very depressed, and I was very alone, and I was feeling very suicidal. So I contacted a friend of mine and asked that friend to come spend the weekend with me. She said that she was going to be gone for that weekend, so I wanted a friend to come spend time with me that weekend so that I would be less alone. The hippie was going to come through town, so me and the friend who knows the hippie were going to, go and hang out with the hippie while he was in town. And the hippie kind of travels around the country just doing his hippie thing. So she comes home early, and she sees that I have a friend in the apartment, and she takes her to know. And once she leaves, she proceeds to just beat me. She ripped the clothes off of my body. She attempted to throw me off of our third-story balcony. Made it clear that she thought that I was sleeping with this individual. I had not slept with that individual. I was 29, almost 30 at this point, and I think I dated him when I was like 18. So it was a long time ago. A lot had happened. We had become friends. We weren't dating. We just never dated. I didn't think about him that way and had not thought about him that way in quite some time. But to her, anyone around me must be trying to sleep with me. Everyone else must be trying to sleep with them. So no mention of what she was doing during these days, because if she cheated on me, then it would have been justified. If I cheated on her, then it would not have been in her mind. Like, she can do whatever she wants. My activities were extremely restricted. Um, what I ate, when I ate, how much I ate, when I showered, when we had sex, when and how much makeup I wore, if I wore makeup, everything just kind of heavily restricted, and so that was just. So anyway, the cops get called. They did not arrest her. I ended up calling my father, who comes up there the next day and takes me to a TV shelter, a domestic violence shelter, and while staying at the domestic violence shelter, I did have contact with her. I wasn't supposed to have contact with her, but I did. It's very hard to break that cycle of abuse. At some point, I made it very clear to her that I did not want to have any more contact with her. And a friend of mine that I went to high school with, we didn't go to the same high school, but we knew each other when we were in high school. I was talking to him about it on the phone, and he said, "Well, why don't you just move up here? Move up here. You know, we can date, we can not date. I wanted to date you in high school. It's whatever. Like, I know that's not really where your mindset is right now, but we can date or we cannot date. You can stay here for as long as you need. Just get away. And so I did. I kept on applying, and the day that I was released from parole, because I was still on parole, the day that I was released from parole, I jumped on a plane. Well, no, technically it was a day. I jumped on a plane, and that plane took me hundreds of miles away. And so today, being 3-year anniversary of me moving away, although I was on like 6 months, like I stayed up there long enough for her to hopefully forget that I exist, but probably not. Like I'm pretty sure that she still remembers that I exist, and I'm pretty sure that if I ran into her, there would be a problem. That she would say something to me. Um, but I often had conversations with my husband about that. Like, what would you do? What would you do if someone approached me in this manner? And he just made it clear that he would protect me at all costs, which is one of the reasons that I love him, because he will protect me. He's shown that he will protect me, but more importantly, he would also get me to protect myself, which is kind of the key that I've had to learn, is that no one's going to save me from the world. I have to save myself from the world, and that's just kind of a bittersweet memory, because on the one hand, there was a lot of abuse, there was a lot of trauma, like there was a lot of horrible things that someone did to me. But on the other hand, I mean, you learn a valuable lesson. For one, don't, move in with people that you've known for 2 weeks. For two, protect yourself. Take care of yourself. Make decisions that will ensure that you survive another day. Because no matter how many people you care about, you can't be here to care about them if you die, if you commit suicide, or if you're murdered because well, I don't think you choose the family, choose the relationship. It's more complicated than that, but everyone has to get to a point where they care enough about themselves to take care of themselves, and that's what I did. That's what this situation kind of instilled in me. And I also have a never again mentality, because after that I did, date a guy very briefly, and he hit me, and I was off the road. I will never date you again. I will never have you a part of my life again. No one hits me. No one threatens me. If you hit me, or if you threaten me, then you will no longer have a place in my life. There is a line that I have drawn in the sand, thanks to Kay. And so I guess I am sort of grateful. Not that she hurt me, but that I was able to learn lessons from the abuse that I suffered. So I guess that's it for today. The horrible story of, the domestic violence that I suffered. Which, by the way, was like lesbian domestic violence. So, I mean, granted, more women are hurt by men than, by other women, but women do it too. Like, women can hurt women, men can hurt men, women can hurt, men. Domestic violence is not gender specific. It's not that just men hurt women, and men hurt, people as well. And this is one story of that. The lesbian relationship, and she messed me up pretty badly. She cracked some ribs, and I was lucky to have made it through that night. She definitely could have killed me. Glad she had that aim when she tried to throw me off the balcony again. So that's it for today, I guess. Diary 101 or whatever. I don't know what I'm gonna call this. I don't know how to end this. I'm gonna stop now.